From the strangest arcade game ever to an actual serious UFO case, these are 5 mysteries of the Pacific Northwest. Number 5. Dennis Walker's collection. We kick things off with the story of Dennis Walker, a quote-unquote businessman that set up shop in Medford, Oregon. Walker's business plan was simple: use other people's money to buy sports memorabilia, and then possibly sell it for profit. After he amassed a sizable collection, Walker opened up a museum in town. From baseball cards to uniforms and signed balls, he had it all. It was around this time that the local police force started getting suspicious about Walker's activities. After a very quick investigation, he was charged with fraud and racketeering. However, much to the surprise of the police, all his investors backed him up, stating that they trusted him 100% with the millions of dollars they gave him. Before things escalated, Walker packed up shop and vanished. I bet his investors changed their opinion rather quickly after that. In 1987, some 16 months after his disappearance, Walker was found in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, his collection was missing. Even more unfortunate, he was dead. Throughout the last 30 years, over $120,000 of his prized sports memorabilia collection has been located. But no one knows how he died. Investigators have speculated it was a mob hit or perhaps a disgruntled investor. What do you think happened? I'm pretty sure the Juice was still filming Hertz commercials in 1987, so it probably wasn't him. Number 4. Mels Hole. Have you ever listened to the radio show Coast to Coast AM? It's great for those lonely drives at 2 a.m. On February 21st, 1997, the greatest host to ever live, Art Bell, took a random caller from Washington State. His name was Mel Waters, and he had quite the story to tell. The caller claimed he lived in a very rural part of Kittitas County, Washington, a county that is remarkably unremarkable, except for the bottomless pit that had magical healing powers. Waters went into great detail describing the pit. At one point, he measured it to be over 80,000 feet deep. Let's pause for a second. This random hole that no one had heard of before was apparently twice as deep as the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean. Seems very likely, right? Waters actually became quite a regular, calling into the show in 2000 and 2002, always talking about the damn hole. By 2002, another man claimed to know where the hole is. He also claimed that the government was protecting the area because of, you guessed it, alien activity. He also led an expedition of 30 people to see the hole. However, it seems like he forgot the exact location since the expedition failed miserably. Some government shills claim that the hole is geologically impossible, and any hole of that size would collapse in on itself from the pressure. But what did they know? Stupid geologists. Number 3. D.B. Cooper. You really can't avoid talking about D.B. Cooper when discussing the Pacific Northwest and mysteries. On Thanksgiving Eve, 1971, Dan Cooper boarded a busy flight headed from Portland to Seattle. He ordered a bourbon, lit up a cigarette, and shortly after takeoff, solidified his place in American history. While the plane was still gaining altitude, Dan Cooper passed a note to the nearest flight attendant. She assumed it was just a phone number, so she tossed it in her bag. He leaned over and whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Long story short, Cooper turned out to be the nicest hijacker ever. The plane landed in Seattle and the feds gave him $200,000 and 4 parachutes. The plane was refueled and headed towards Mexico City, with only 4 people on board. The crew was locked in the pilot cabin, while Cooper enjoyed the Boeing 727 all to himself. When the plane landed in Reno, Nevada for refueling, Cooper was nowhere to be found. After a thorough search, authorities found no trace of him, the bomb, or the money. It is believed Dan Cooper jumped off somewhere over the Lewis River in southwestern Washington. Apart from the aircraft, the only physical evidence in the case is a stack of $20 bills that were found by a little kid, and instructions on how to open the aft stairs of a 727. In 2016, the FBI officially suspended its active investigation of the D.B. Cooper hijacking. To this day, none of the 9,000 or so remaining bills have surfaced anywhere in the world. Fun fact, we refer to him as D.B. Cooper because a reporter screwed up his initial report. He assumed that D.B. Cooper, who was the initial suspect, was the full name that Dan Cooper gave the airline. And that right there, folks, is fake news. Number 2. The UFO. We don't have to go back to the 70s for this mystery. On October 25th, 2017, FAA and NORAD employees were on high alert due to an unidentified flying object gliding through the Oregon skies. As far as we know, the UFO was first spotted on radar near the California-Oregon border.
Oakland 31.
Frac number 1550 Lima, level 43 is the wrong way.
That's pretty big. Do you know that target south of the boundary there, that 0027 code moving very fast at 37,000?
Oh, look at that thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Huh. And you don't have anything on him, huh?
I got nothing.
Well, look.
WestJet 1698.
The object disappeared from radar systems as quickly as it had appeared. However, in the next few hours, some pilots flying commercial aircraft over the area called it in. Initially, the story was reported by thedrive.com, and after a while, a FOIA request for the FAA transmissions from that day was approved. The incident can be mapped out as the calls come in, and what you heard in the beginning of this segment was just a small snippet. The UFO was described as a very fast, big, white aircraft flying at 37,000 feet. It appears that the military was notified very early on, and the Air Force scrambled 2 F-15s to try and get a closer look at the UFO. Pilot eyewitnesses couldn't confirm the make or model of the aircraft, and the F-15s never spotted it either, as far as the public knows anyway. What do you think? Maybe it was a top-secret new generation airplane testing its limits? Sounds plausible. Number 1. Polybius. As far as conspiracy theories and urban legends go, the story of the arcade game Polybius doesn't seem far-fetched at all. Let's travel back to the year 1981. Jesse's Girl was topping the music charts, Raiders of the Lost Ark was mesmerizing moviegoers, and every 13-year-old kid was spending way too much time at their local arcade. To be honest, it doesn't sound so bad, does it? Some arcades in the Portland area received an unheard-of new game called Polybius. It immediately became a hit with local kids, more so than any other game at the time. They were going crazy over it, waiting in hour-long lines just to get a chance to play it. Before you know it, people that played the game reported mysterious side effects, including hallucinations, paranoia, night terrors, amnesia, and insomnia. The game wasn't even out for a month before the machines were taken away by Men in Black. Interestingly enough, the legend of Polybius wasn't born in the 1980s. No. It was born in the year 2000, when the title was added to coinop.org, an arcade game resource website. Since then, no material evidence of the original game has surfaced, but it has inspired some indie game producers to make their own version of the game that supposedly turns you into a lunatic. If anyone has ever heard of this game prior to 2000, it would be interesting to find out. Comment below and tell me what you think about the story of Polybius. I don't have a great segue into the next video, but you should check it out anyway. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos.